Hey Taylor, this is Wangda Lu, and I'm here to do the presentation about the Second Nazi. I'm going to discuss that how religious and politics influenced the Tibet medicine in the history, and how I think the current governance of the Tibet is helpful to the Tibet culture. So I will go directly to talk about the general overview of different religious and different politics in Tibet history, which influenced the Tibet medicine. First of all, I'd like to talk about the local deities that appeared in the early stage of the development of the Tibetan medicine. These local deities are very important. The local Tibetans, they like mountains, they like rivers, they like trees. They live in the nature and enjoy the gifts of the nature. This is also the origin of the early Tibetan medicine. They will eat the wild fruits, the wild vegetables, wild animals, and maybe suddenly that they find that these things are good for their body, uh, to relieve their pain or to improve their strength. Therefore, this creates their worship for nature. There's a content in our reading which said the Tibetan practices included from the early times a cult of local deities, communication with those deities by means of the spirit possession, and concern with defense against malevolent and destructive spirits through the agency of the local deities. The most important deities were evidently from very early times the gods and the goddesses of the mountains. This is from the Stein 1972a and 1985. So for them that these local deities are not only the external objects of the worship, but more like internal spiritual symbols. So I think the local deities are the signal of the origin of the early Tibetan medicine. Then that I came a very important period of the Tibetan medicine, that is the 6th to the 9th centuries AD, due to the introduction of the Buddhism and the prosperity of the economic and the cultural exchanges. The Tibetan medicine also got a really great development. There is another content in our reading which suggests the first developments in the medicine in Tibet can be discussed in relation to the Nagada period of the first dissemination of the Buddhism there. This phase covers the period from the 7th to the 9th centuries, when Tibet was a powerful political and economic force in the Central Asia. This is from Samuel, the page 278. The next content of our reading is religion pervades most aspects of the traditional Tibetan life and culture, and the dominant institutional religious system is Buddhism. This is from Capstan, the page 205. So I think the ruler of the Tibet, which is Songtsan Ganpo, that he married Princess Wencheng of the Tang Dynasty, and the most prosperous dynasty in Chinese history. And Tibet was also a symbol of the economic and military power in the Central Asia. So Princess Wencheng went to Tibet with a large number of the Buddhist books. So, Songtsan Ganpo also established a belief in the Buddhism. Therefore, under the influence of the Chinese Buddhism, and the Bon and the Indian Buddhism, the Tibetan medicine began to sprout and develop. And at that time, a large number of the medical practitioners from other countries, they came to Tibet to spread the classics and integrity the local Tibetan medicine. The famous medical books like Four Tantras were developed it. So at Four Tantras, we can find a lot about the Buddhism. Many of the names of the disease recorded in the Tibetan medicine are taken from the Buddhist scriptures, like the yellow, uh, emperor's books, which we just learned before, which is Huangdi Neijing, The four tantras takes the form of the dialogue. You know, the early tradition of the Tibetan medicine began in the monasteries, and many Tibetan practitioners were eminent monks, and many Buddhist rituals are also performed during the healing process. And the medicine practitioners treat patients regardless of high or low status, regardless of rich or poor, and the practitioners are kind in heart. So it also reflects the thought of the Buddhism. And one of the reading which suggested that a principal feature of the Four Tantras is that it was written in the dialogue format, as if it were the record of the conversations between the Rigpayashi and his student Yelkiya. So this is from the Hofer, page 52. And all this happened during the glorious period from the 6th to the middle of the 9th century, a crucial period in the history of the Tibetan medicine. Although the works of this period coexisted with the medicine, it laid a solid foundation for the later development of the Tibetan medicine and Tibetan medicine practitioners. And since then, the Tibetan medicine has gradually become one of the world's four major traditional medicine. Um, from the beginning of the input and absorption, more and more strength and connotation, it began to spread to other places in the earth. In the following centuries, the Tibetan medicine was divided into different schools due to the struggles of the Tibetan government. I mean, it's inside, not outside. So during this period, many books were published, and Tibetan medicine was gradually spread to other areas. Uh, Next is another content in our reading. So after the 13th Dalai Lama and had declared the Tibet independent in 1913, he tried, ultimately unsuccessful, to build a modern Tibetan nation state. Um, the 13th Dalai Lama thought to expand existing the medical facilities in Lhasa in order to make healthcare more available to the average Tibetan. The Western biomedicine, which have arrived in the central Tibet with the British, could have been an option. This is from Hofer, page 129. The early Tibetan medicine and Tibetan pharmacy mostly served the feudal aristocracy in the upper class of the society and could not treat the common people even when the plague was rampant. In the 1925, the 13th Dalai Lama decreed that the functions of the Tibetan medical education and the clinical medical treatment should be divided into two categories, which initially formed the pattern of the Tibetan medical education and medical treatment under the old Tibetan government. Therefore, as a result, the Tibetan medicine has gradually become standardized and achieved great development. However, the medicine has the knowledge and the technology of the Tibetan medicine are mainly in the hands of the lamas, the monks, and a small number of the Tibetan medical scientists, and they have not been passed on to the people. As a result, the inheritance of the Tibetan medicine culture is restricted, which is not conducive to the development of the Tibetan medicine. In fact, it was not until after the founding of the People's Republic of China that uh, that Tibetan medicine benefited the general public with the establishment of the Tibetan hospitals, the Tibetan medicine institutes, and the Tibetan medical colleges. So also that During the Han Dynasty, the Indian Buddhism was introduced into the Tibet and also the mainland of the China through the Silk Road. So the medical and the cultural exchanges between the China and India became more frequent, reaching a peak, during the Tang Dynasty. Traditional Indian medical knowledge, especially the Ayurvedic culture, was introduced into the Tibet and interacted with the Tibetan medical culture. Some of the medical materials in the Tibetan medicine were introduced into Tibet from India. In the Ayurvedic culture, the Ayur means life and Veda means the knowledge, and there are many similarities between the Tibetan medicine and the Ayurveda, such as the emphasis on the unity of the man and the nature, the prevention of the disease, and the balance of the nature. Both systems emphasize the balance of the various elements of the body, and they both believe that people's uh, physio- physiological states and disease are related to the influence of the nature. Also, they both think that people can use the power of the nature to stay healthy, and they also both focus on the proper diet, the exercise, the body movement, and the wellness treatments. So at last, I think the current governance of the Tibetan culture is active, is open, and is beneficial. So after the liberation of the Tibet, the Chinese government also controlled and sorted out some bad cultures while propagating the Tibetan culture. The Chinese government controlled some backward feudal and barbaric cultures and strengthened the patriotic education in Tibet. So those feudal, hierarchical, and backward cultures were abandoned, while those meaningful cultures were preserved. So for the religion, medicine, and other cultures, I think the Chinese government strongly supports their development and actively publicized them. For such a long time, Tibet was a feudal dictatorship under the theocracy, represented by the Dalai Lama and other religious elites. So, according to relevant historical records, the serf honors, including officials, nobles, and upper-ranking monks in in monasteries who accounted for less than 5% of the population in old Tibet. They also owned almost all the land, all the animals, all most of the livestock in Tibet. So this system of the old era has been unable to adapt to the development of the new era. To some extent, the system of the old era limited the spread of the Tibetan culture because they only pay attention to the power and the benefits, the interests of their own, but not for the common people in the Tibet. So the control of the current Chinese government is more conducive to the spread of the Tibetan culture to the world. And for me, that I really think the Tibetan culture is wonderful and it is valuable to spread out to other places and other cultures. So that's all for my presentation, and thanks so much.